YouTube, Daniel here for another video on the channel. Just making sure this is on. We are here in my room, about to sleep. We had some errands to run, so I'm not able to shoot this outside. Usually, I do a morning walk. If you follow my Instagram, I'll put it below. You see me doing a walk in the morning. Um, Unfortunately, got a little tied up with things, so couldn't do it this morning. But everything's perfect, no matter. So I'm gonna touch base on. Well, I don't really know, to be honest. I had some things in mind, but the more I think, the less I can really just flow and get connected. One thing I am noticing though is on this journey and the journey I've been able to really get connected and work on my spiritual side more than anything. I've noticed the crazy distinction. I talked about this with my coach as well, my mentor, Mike, is when you're on this journey and you're able to live this lifestyle, the 0.01% lifestyle, like very few people can, do. That's why I call it the 0.01%, because you can have no vices and that's cool. But, the way that me and my two coaches are the only people I know that do this, the way we operate is really no vices and removing constantly things that are disconnecting us from the source, God, and the thing that keeps us aligned and keeps us on our purpose. And it's literally doing anything, like removing things. For me, it was removing smartwatch. The latest thing that it's not my biggest thing that I removed, but it's really removing things you're doing, and then the ways that you're thinking, and then things you're controlling in your head. And it's really a removal game. I haven't added anything recently that's helped me. I've maybe had a new habits. The recent one is fasting. But in terms of something external, so fasting is a habit where you're removing. So I mean, as you see, it's always removing. And when you are connected and able to understand that, well, when you're connecting the line, you want to remove more because that's the answer. That's the way to connect more with yourself. But when you're in ego and thinking and desiring, you always want to add. And that's one way to know when you are an ego and basically going to start um, desiring things and getting in lust. And that's how I lived for a very long time, always adding, needing to add women. My biggest vice was women. I mentioned this before. That was my journey for 3, 4 years. And before I met my coach now, Mike, and even before I met my other coach as well, Yados, um, I always thought it was adding. I left the women, and because I came to a place where I knew that I was going downhill. I mentioned this all the time. My turning point was when I was in Argentina, in a club, about like 6 a.m. Everyone around us was, taking substances, drugs, stuff like that. I remember just being in a very dark room and just hearing music, basically coming down from the drug I had taken, and I was, just seeing everyone around me, just basically escaping their life. And for me, I thought these people were like successful monetarily wise, they were successful financially, they all had businesses, stuff like that. But then I was like, these people are not really the success I want, and I said, fuck this. And I basically, had to dance with the devil that night and saw what my life would be like, and I said, this is not for me. So I escaped and started investing myself. But funny enough, that lust, because I was still stuck in the mental and physical, that lust just became money. And if you don't realize that you're in a spiritual battle with the devil, it's gonna keep transferring over. So you can remove one thing and maybe beat that battle that you didn't know was spiritual the whole time, but it will begin to transfer over to something else, because the lust is essentially you giving a feeling to something, you thinking that something external is going to bring you a feeling or something that you can't create within you. So for me, I thought it was women. Every time I saw a girl on the street and she was pretty, or my type, whoever it was, maybe had something interesting about her, I always create these stories in my head that, like, this one would be different, or like you create this feeling of like, oh, imagine this one, and you start to envision and create things that aren't real, but your ego makes you create that because it needs something to create so it can entice you enough to chase or go after it or go outside of yourself, to not attract but like move towards something. And it could be anything, something neutral. Like it could be, for me, one of my devils now is food that I've noticed, but for you, it could be clothes, it could be cars, anything that gives you a feeling that you know isn't peace or alignment or connected. You'll know when you're connected or have peace or alignment. Is the devil trying to use your ego to make you chase that? And it sounds complicated, it sounds high, big picture thinking, but that's the only way I can really break it down, because when you begin to think, you begin to get in desire and then you get lust for things. So, like I said, everyone has their own thing. You can begin to see what you have feelings around. It could even be movies, TV shows, sports, gambling, porn obviously is a big one. Like anything you give that's neutral, because everything is neutral. You just give a feeling to it, either positive or negative. But in this case, where I'm going with this is when you don't realize it's a spiritual battle, everything you're gonna transfer one lust into another. So mine was women to money, and then money. It was money for quite a bit of time, even after Yados, my mentor. I just wanted to chase money and thought it was money, money. Like, how do I get money? I approached him because I only saw money, and the world isn't what as it is how you are. So whatever you're lacking or think you need more of, or giving a feeling to that moment, you're gonna see someone else with or without that. You basically only look at a person in that space. So for me, I saw Yados. He had every area, in life really figured out and solid, you know. And but I only saw the money. He had a beautiful relationship with his wife. He had great physique. He had his his own business, stuff like that he had that built for decades. Had a good personal brand, but all I saw was money. All I saw was how much he was making per month, how much I want to make per month with my business, and I invested in him and just thought, okay, this guy's going to give me everything in terms of money, and I'm going to be able to get the tips, the habit, or whatever it is, the methods, and then leave, because you're always looking for something to add an ego. But funny enough, he was able to get me to remove, his habits were simply remove vices, remove not waking up at a certain time, remove overeating, so tracking your macros, um, remove not training, so twice a day, every day, um, and then remove bad environments. So stop going to like clubs, places where you get lost in the lust. And that was one thing that delayed for a bit, but eventually got there. And it was realizing that it was all a removal game. After a while, after 3 or 4 months, I was very consistent. And then I think about 5 6 months in is when I met my coach now, Mike, and that's when I hit a new level because I capped out mentally and physically, and I was still an ego and still giving lots of things, but then when I met with him, it was all spiritual, and just the growth that was there was crazy. Like it was, you know, he helping me establish what I just told you now, that the thinking causes you to chase with the feelings, was things that changed for me completely because I realized how addicted I was to feeling. Like when I started working together with him, I was always like, why am I, like, I wasn't able to be aligned. I wasn't able to be connected. I wasn't able to feel peace. Until recently, I've had days of full peace. Um, One specifically being when I was in Morocco. I traveled to Italy and I was able to have um, a layover in Morocco, which was funny enough something that was, I I believe I manifested it. I was talking about it a week before, and funny enough, the layover happened there when one of my other flights got canceled. So everything worked perfectly. Everything is perfect, and I never felt that much peace. Probably my whole life. Crazy, crazy, like just no thoughts, no desires, just peace, like bliss. It's almost like something of a movie. And I was on a call with him. Nothing, was affecting me. People were looking at me or something like that, or someone was in a bad mood. You know how you like walk by some people and sometimes you get bad energy. Nothing affected me. It was crazy. But for about like 3 4 hours, I was like that, and then naturally, you know, your mind's gonna start to go into thoughts and then maybe thinking, and then you get out of it. But that's why the whole goal is staying aligned. But the thing I want to say of the video is realize where you're adding feelings to things. Realize, for lust, that's how you remove it, is realizing it's spiritual, but realizing that there's specific devils that the specific weaknesses the devil's gonna find. For me, it was women, but I killed that, so I have no lust towards women. There's no like need to look at Instagrams of women like I did before, adding women on social media, or going out to like try to pick up women wherever it was. Biggest one was like I used to a mall a lot, you know, day game as you would call it. Um, or I would go to clubs, you know, on the weekends, music festivals, stuff like that. But now it's almost like I'd have to push myself to do that, and it's I realized that I killed that, but then everyone, like I said, has something to add a feeling to. So um, mine currently is food. I can name a bunch of other ones. My biggest one is food, giving a feeling to food. Luckily, I'm not fat because things happened where God gave me the blessing of having psoriasis. I'm not sure if you can see it in the video a little bit here. Not ashamed because it's gonna go away, but does even that is spiritual? Everything is spiritual. Everything is gonna um, comes from above, mental into your body. So it's all energy. But yeah, luckily enough, he gave me the blessing of needing my diet to be a certain way. So I can't get fat even if I wanted to. So everything is perfect with that. But it's removing anything that you're giving a feeling to. So for me, I can't have any desserts. So no desserts and no fried foods, and even apps with foods. I've deleted Uber Eats. I've deleted another app I downloaded recently, and anything that gets you acting or giving a feeling of something has to be removed. So for you, if it's women watching, the biggest one, the biggest vice, it's you have to remove everything that attaches you to that. So any people you're following online, women that you shouldn't be following, remove that. If you're into if you have friends that want to go out always are pushing you, oh, like comparing girls, you have a group chat that just talks about girls, leave that group chat. It's about removing the exposure to that thing and realizing that you're addicted to the feeling of that because it's not real, it's neutral. Someone could see a girl on the street and just think, it's neutral to them, just say hi or, just look. But you, if you're in lust, you're like, you want to like talk to them and, like are making these stories in your head like I did. I've been there, so that's why I can comment and say this. And you have to begin to realize that this will never go away until you remove that exposure to it, and then you are able to withdraw from it. It's literally like it's a mental drug that you're you're programmed to want to consume, and it'll move over to something else. And that's why I say everything's spiritual, because the devil's going to try and find things that he knows he can like add a feeling to make you go and get. So once you're able to remove women or that lust for it, it's going to take a very long time. That's why the habits are very key. So you can follow my Instagram for that, like I said. But once you remove that, it's going to move to something else that you didn't know or maybe weren't expecting, but maybe had once in a while some story with it. And it's going to creep in there, and it could be clothes maybe, or shoes. You start to get really feelings about shoes. Who knows? Everyone's different. But realize that lust is, it transfers, and it's a never-ending game. That's why they say new levels, new devils, because there's things that are calling you, or start calling you to distract you, and that is what the devil uses. Number one weapon is feelings, desires, and lust. So lust doesn't stop with women. It stops with doesn't stop really. It's always a constant battle. But realize the one with women can be beaten. It's fairly easy, to be honest, and you know I want to dedicate myself to helping people with that because I've had a long story with that. I've spent years getting into it, teaching people to get in, and I've got myself out of it and can teach others to get out because, yeah, I've dedicated 3 4 years of my life to that. I know the ins and outs. I could see the stage of every person. From I could see a person that I don't even know maybe on social media and see them in it and know exactly where they are because I was in that place as well, and can see how far you can get along with it or into it because it's all ego. It's all ego telling you to add more and more. And society is very normal. It's normalized to like have girls and show your girls off, and you start to develop these like identities around it, like I did, and I thought I was like this player and stuff like that. And I mean, God put me through that for a reason, so I can have the perspective, have the growth to come out of it and be able to help, men, possibly even women as well, because yeah, it's just a feeling you give to something. Really, it's the feeling that you create that's not real, that it's coming from your ego. And the whole key is really understanding where the battle is. Most people don't understand it's spiritual. They think it's mental or physical, so they start to get hard on themselves and say, I need to change something externally. But it's all connecting with, you know, the one that's going to give you the sword and all the weapons you need to beat the devils in your life. And then from there, just really humbling yourself and understanding where it's going on and just following the steps you need in order to keep that out. But let me fix this quickly. Something I want to mention, because it is something that is normalized, and like I said, once you remove it or realize that you have it first off and remove it, step by step, it's not something you do one night to another. You can't just remove everything I just told you to remove prior: friends, clubs, social media, girls you follow, like Instagram models you follow. Probably one thing you do, you put, you're putting women on a pedestal, so you follow anyone that's attractive, and think, that's, you're consumed by that. Like it's just consumed. So you have to remove all those things slowly. Start with the social media, remove that, and slowly start to, remove your time going out, and bit by bit, and then eventually you can, see how much you've changed, do a 180, but like a step by step. And like I said, the best way to know is to follow my social media, so you can see my habits, see how I live my life, my wake up time, the exercise, the way I eat, reflections I have, my story, everything will be there. So you can contact me there. We can speak, and you'll see. Even I posted little videos of my lifestyle and how I was before, how consumed I was by that, just simply in ego and needing validation from people. I know where you are. I've been there, and it's important to be around people that have killed that area or that lust for that area, and you can focus on other things that you're built to do, because you're not built to be consumed by your lust and your desires and your fake feelings that the devil gives you. You're meant for bigger things, and you have gifts that you need to unravel, and that's removing distractions. By removing distractions, you can actually get to live your purpose. So something I want to throw quickly out there as I show before I go to bed. But yeah, it's really important to understand and try to see where you're getting feelings. If you're watching, it's likely with women, but it could be other areas as well. It's not always just women. Women can be your biggest one, but there's also, it could be food, could be clothes, it could anything you give a desire to or lust, it's that. And you have to begin to identify that the goal is not chasing these desires or having more desires, it's being in peace. Like I mentioned, my story of being in peace in Morocco, that is the goal. It's not, needing this excitement or like chasing something, like, some kind of dog looking for a bone. You have to be at peace and realize everything comes from within, and just building yourself within, and then attracting as a consequence. So the lifestyle is for the 1%, 0.01%, and it's not for everybody. So something needs requires dedication and commitment to it. You can't just do it for a bit and then think it's going to remove, because once you get into the realm where it all happens, you can't go back. I can't go back. Even if I want to tell myself I can go and dabble a bit in here, dabble a bit in there. When you've experienced the things, been connected, been aligned, been spiritually high, realize how good you can feel, you can't go back. It's, you're chosen, and as long as you stay the path, only God will bring you better and better things. So I want to throw that out quickly. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please comment below where yours are. Don't be ashamed. Everyone has devils. Like I said, even myself, mine is food right now, my biggest one, but there's a few others that I will go into another video. And yeah, we'd like to hear yours and see where you're at. And like I said, my Instagram will be below. You can reach out there. Like the video if you got some value. Subscribe as well. More videos will be coming. Shooting every day. That is my goal, to give you guys good wisdom and see me grow. So you can watch me grow, or you can, go with me, as my coach will say. Got that from him. Crazy. But yeah, thank you for the love, support. If you stay till the end, crazy, appreciate you. And you are strong enough to remove it and kill that lust and those desires, but it's simply removing and having the faith removed, and not adding in fear. That's the goal. So anyways, much love. Appreciate you guys. And until next time, keep killing it.